Welcome
to the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 304 of The Joy of Coding. This is a very spooky episode, which is why I'm wearing a hat and sunglasses, and I've got a spooky bat. Whoa. Yeah, Halloween's coming up, and I figured I'd dress up a little bit for the upcoming holiday. This is a low-effort costume. We'll see if the sunglasses last, because it might actually make it difficult to read my screen. We'll see. Let's start by sharing my screen. How's everybody doing? It's October 26th, 2022, episode 304. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. Oh, Danny Cullen wants me to eat the bat like Ozzy. Hello. Oh. War pigs. What is another thing that Ozzy says? Sharon. There, I did it. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I'm going to try and hack on some Firefox stuff today. We'll see how it goes. It might go horribly sideways. I just realized, I booted up I connected to the machine that normally we've been doing the Windows jump list stuff on, for example, and realized that Windows had just, gone and reset the machine. I think last night or something, it just reset itself. So I've had to restart everything, and I had to rebase a bunch of patches. So I'm actually going to start a build right now, so that we've got something to work with. I'm actually going to go back one patch, because I have a feeling it didn't all build just on the most recent one. But we're going to do a binary build. We're going to kick that off, and hopefully it'll be done by the time we get to here. But that's the sort of thing that can go wrong on the Joy of Coding. That's why we're here. And that's one of those things that no plan survives breakfast. We'll find something to do in the meantime. There is an agenda. That's what we're looking at today in this spooky Halloween episode. The agenda is available to you depending on where you're watching this. If you're on YouTube, check out the video description. Same goes for diode.zone. If you're on AirMozilla, check out the video details section. And if you're on Twitch, there's some links at the bottom of my channel that should send you to this agenda. And as I update the agenda and hit save, just reload the page and it'll be up to date. We also have an episode guide, and we haven't talked about that in a while. And in fact, I believe we have some submissions to the episode guide. We're a bit behind. I'm a few months behind, and I think it's high time we add some items to the episode guide. We've got 4 pull requests, 2 of which are just Dependabot things, so I'll do that another time. But for now, I'd like to merge these episodes in from Smurf D. Thank you so much, Smurf D. Oh, YouTube isn't live. YouTube isn't live. Someone just said YouTube isn't live. Hold on. Let me try and figure this out. What's going on, YouTube? Hold on. YouTube live dashboard. 1 second. We're going to sort this out. We are going to sort this out, gang. 1 moment. Go to the dashboard. I am streaming. It's supposed to be live. I can see myself. I'm apparently live. I see a single frame though. I don't know. Apparently YouTube says I'm up. So let me just quickly check the page. See if there's anything special going on. Frame though. Yeah, it's here. YouTube. Apparently YouTube says YouTube's live. I'm up. So I hope Crushed Optimist maybe reload the page. I don't know. Okay, so let's look at episodes 299 and 300. Woo! Episode 299 and 300. I love the enthusiasm, Smurf D. It's not visible for others. Did I accidentally make it private? Is that what I did? I may have accidentally made it an unlisted video. Let me go ahead and just double check. I think that's possible. In which case, I apologize. I'll make it public in just a second. Hold on. Hold. Yeah, it's unlisted. Here we go. Public. Done. Save. All right, it's public now. Reload that page. Reload that page for YouTube, and you should have it. My apologies. That should have been public the whole time. It's a special holiday episode. Halloween. It was a spooky situation. And that's my apologies. Okay, so episode 299 300. Let's check this out. Episode 299 happened on August 31st. That is correct. And what did we do? August 31st. I tried to contribute. Oh, I talked about episode 300 where I was going to contribute to Thunderbird. I talked a little bit about maybe looking at Scum VM. We'd end up doing that. And then I talked about there being no episodes on the 21st to the 22nd due to travel. And then we jumped into the Windows jump list stuff again. Jumped into the jump list stuff. Hilarious. I think I'm going to make some minor modifications here by getting rid of some of these new lines. And then... Is that normally what we do? Rate this episode? I normally have it like kind of like that. But preview. Rate this episode. Yeah. Looks good. Looks good. Commit changes. Okay. And then what else? We've got episode 300 here. That was on September 14th. Correct. And all the links look good. And bold, we did it. Now, I think there's a way of doing that inside of... oh, no, it works. It works. I think you can do bolding in Markdown using like the double stars, but I'm okay with that. Talked about Thunderbird. Talked about Scum VM. We didn't end up doing that, and then I talked about no episodes due to travel. That looks great. I'm happy with this. Let's go ahead and approve these changes. We're gonna bring them in. Thank you. So that's done, and then we're gonna bring in episodes 301 and 302. Again, the procedure is pretty straightforward. I look at the dates. I make sure that those match up. October 5th for 301, that looks right. The links look right. Those are the most important parts. And then what do we do? Thunderbird patch was merged. I talked about Masterways. We reviewed some patches. Then we went back into jump list stuff. Yep. And then in 302, it was October 12th. And then, yep, those look right. And then still more jump list stuff. And guess what? Today we're going to do jump list stuff. But we're going to do this WebIDL part, or at least we're going to try if that build is ready in time. So let's go ahead and merge, say thanks to SmurfD, and let's proceed with the episode, shall we? Right, so today what I want to do is jump back into the jump list stuff. In particular, we talked last week about how, or not last week, on episode 302, we had talked about... using WebIDL. We wanted basically a new sort of like simpler API so that you could populate a jump list with a description of things, like an array basically of items, and then basically simplify the API. And so where was my document? I had started to take some notes. Oh yeah, it's here. So I was like, hey, we can have this like short, a shortcut description, a jump list shortcut description with these primitives, basically a structure, and then we can like pass a collection to populate jump list, and that's all you need to do. Is like you create simple structures. And you say, okay, populate the jump list with this, and then clear the list. And that should be a lot simpler than what we currently have in Windows Jump List, which is basically a very thin layer on top of the rather, in my opinion, clumsy API of the jump list stuff. Now, I say it's a clumsy API. I'm sure there's good reasons for the way it was designed. I'm sure the Windows people were just doing their best. But I think we can do better for our front end, for our purposes, for Firefox. We don't have wildly different or wildly bizarre requirements for the jump list. So I thought we could do that, but let's see how building is going. Hey, building is done. Good. We're in good shape. We were able to get that done. So I'm going to now go to the most recent commit and make sure see if that can build. Because I can't remember if we were in a shape where we were like building yet. I got a feeling we were like halfway through something. Now WebID, this is really interesting because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be mixing WebIDL with XPCOM. So WebIDL, if you're not familiar with WebIDL or you're not sure what I'm talking about, it's an interface. IDL stands for Interface Definition Language, and WebIDL, I believe there is like a standard that, like, oftentimes this is used to describe web APIs in specifications. So the WattWG, for example, uses WebIDL to like to describe the UI for like, or the API for something like, I don't know. Let me pick an example. Web MIDI API. And then let's find the spec for it. It looks like the W3C has it. And then I think, yeah, this is in WebIDL. This is how they describe the API. And what's useful about that is these descriptions can be used to generate the language bindings. You know, like to make sure we can just like pull this out of the spec and drop it into our code and make sure that we are abiding by the spec rather than like, you know, kind of doing it by hand and making sure like, oh, you got to make sure that we're this thing's read only. You can just like take this, drop it in, and then at build time we can enforce that the APIs match the specifications. That's the idea. And so we have like a WebIDL parser inside of the tree that generates a bunch of like C++ and C++ bindings to JavaScript. Now that might sound familiar if you're an old school Firefox hacker, because XPCOM has its own definition language called XPIDL, and those things have been used traditionally to describe things with for XPCOM. You know, it's another interface definition language, but it's for XPCOM components. And let's pick one, for example. Let's pick a simple one. Well, let's do the jump list stuff. There is this jump list builder is described using XPIDL, and it's kind of similar. Like if you squint your eyes, it's similar to WebIDL in that like it's basically a description of an API. You know, it's a description of properties and methods and structures and whatnot. And what's interesting, like this also ends up being parsed at build time and C++ gets generated. And because of that, and because Mozilla controls the XPCOM parser, and it's all ending up as C++ anyways, some of our brilliant DOM people have made it so that you can refer to WebIDL things inside of XPCOM IDL files, so that like you can define certain things in WebIDL and then use them in XPCOM. And that's really, really useful because we get a lot of nice things for free with WebIDL bindings. In particular, it makes it a lot easier and, in theory, I think cheaper to make it so that you can accept some structure from JavaScript, from some JavaScript caller, and then the WebIDL layer will ensure that it abides by that particular structure without that the caller having to create some kind of object that implements an XPCOM interface and exposes it using query interface or something. That's the way it used to be. But these days, with WebIDL, if you just describe something like a structure like this, then if you pass in a JavaScript object with these particular properties that have, you know, these types, it'll accept it, and that's really nice. That's a nice feature. And so, yeah, we get a lot of those helpers for free. And so what I'm hoping we can do is kind of mix and match, use a little bit of WebIDL and use a little bit of XPCOM all together here. And so ultimately what I'm hoping we can do is we can like accept an array of these jump list shortcut descriptions in our C++ code, and then pull out those primitives and then, you know, do the work of you know, spinning up the thread, sending these things over, writing it to the jump list, and then committing it. That's the hope. How did our build go? Did it fail? Yes, it failed. I was relatively certain that we weren't in a building state yet. We'd kind of like gotten halfway through, and that's okay, because we want to now start thinking about WebIDL. Now we are going to want to build this WebIDL stuff. So I wonder if what we should do. Let's not match any declaration of add list to build. What did we do here? I kind of forget. What was it? Jump list builder. We'd made it so that it was like that, and so let's put it back, and then jump list builder, add list to build. Yeah, I don't think we'd like done the work yet of actually converting it. So I think this should build now, and now we can start worrying about our WebIDL. Now, this WebIDL, I said that it's used to describe like web APIs, but we also use it for like privileged only stuff. Like we are obviously not going to be exposing what I'm describing, the jump list stuff to the web. Like there's no spec for that, and we shouldn't add any. But we have this notion of like Chrome only WebIDL, basically like privileged WebIDL bindings that only like privileged code inside of JavaScript can use and know about. And I think that's what we want to add here, is we're going to add like a jump list, Windows jump list WebIDL. Now I don't know if there's do we have prior art for having something be like very platform specific? I actually don't know. Let's pull up WebIDL, because this is like extremely Windows specific. Yeah, certain things are ignored on Windows. Windows file attributes. There are certain Windowsy things, but ultimately it looks like I don't think we have any like platforms like support rules. Only exposed on window and worker. We're definitely only going to expose this on window and for Chrome only. I wonder what the other values can be for exposed, because like exposed. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So it can be controlled by a pref. Worklets, workers, dedicated worker, can be exposed to a service worker. Nothing about modules only. Do we have anything that's like, we mentioned like Linux in WebIDL? No. No, I think we try and keep these like relatively agnostic. Which is going to be a pain, because like what I'm describing here is extremely extremely Windowsy. In fact, we might want to like if def the WebIDL file so that it doesn't actually expose anything if we're on any other platform. Are those pre-processed? Yeah, pre-processed right here. We might want to pre-process them. Okay, so let's put this together. We are gonna create a new WebIDL file, and we're going to call it Windows jump list .webidl. And or maybe this should be just part of Chrome utils for that matter. Pop-up blocker state. You know what? Maybe that's just simpler rather than like putting it inside of its own file. I can't actually see us wanting like that being like super necessary because this is gonna be pretty straightforward. Really all I want to do is define a dictionary, and like a bunch of dictionaries like this are already in here, so we might as well just like continue to add to the dumping ground. Dictionary Windows jump list shortcut description, is that what we called it? Jump list shortcut description. Yeah, I'm gonna say Windows jump list shortcut description to make it clear. And then I think these are all legit as like legit WebIDL. And then I'm going to like ifdef, because I think I can ifdef in here, right? Ifdef, and then I think it's like ifdef xpwin. Yeah, and now do we ever do that inside of WebIDL? There's one place, so it seems, yeah, for this like Windows specific stuff. So that there is prior art. There's prior art. So we're just gonna do that. Ifdef xpwin Windows jump list description end if. So now we've got this thing that's gonna, the structure and all of its helpers are gonna be built. And then I think we are able to like use WebIDL stuff inside of XBCOM. So let's start by building this and seeing what happens. Mock build. Ooh, spooky bad. Okay, it hates it. And it hates it because it's missing some semicolons. I guess each one of these needs to end in a semicolon. Okay. Okay. Still does not like it. It doesn't know what a string is. So let's see here. Do we have any? Surely we've used DOM string. Maybe that's probably fine. Ooh, or is it? Should it be an UTF-8 string? Ultimately, what have we been using in here when we've been constructing these things? A strings, and then the URI hash is a C string, but an A string, I believe, means UTF-8, if I'm not mistaken. Well, it means abstract string, and we don't really know. So ultimately, I think it's like pretend it's a UTF-8 string. Although I don't really know what the difference is between a DOM string and a UTF-8 string. Let me see if we can find out. UTF-8 string. Is there some kind of like documentation? WebIDL, UTF-8 string, DOM string. Okay. So it doesn't really describe. Oh, here we go. UTF-8 string, argument type. Ah, okay. DOM string is an NSA string. Operam. Okay, so what we want it to be is a DOM string, not a UTF-8 string. I think. Now, path. Hold on. What were we using for path before? Path. Hang on. Path. A string. Yeah. It was an A string. Okay, so that's right. I think we want to be using DOM string for path, for arguments, description, and then the folder path or the icon path. That all seems right. Okay, let's build it. See if it likes it. And then we're going to add ourselves a new function to the jump list IDL, the XBCOM IDL, that accepts our new dictionary. And we're going to see if we can just pass stuff to it. That's the next step. So what I want to do is I want to see if I can find some examples of using WebIDL inside of XBIDL. And I think if I've seen this correctly, yeah, the way this works is you, I think this will work. Do we ever pass a dictionary? Document fragment. Range. A node. So like this is how you declare something, and then you can like pass, you can get it as a property, you can presumably pass it around. Web extension policy to WebIDL. It's a whole structure, not just a dictionary. This thing, however, is a dictionary. And web extension init, presumably that is what's passed to the constructor of a web extension policy. And let's see. No clues there. But like, I don't know if you saw, but like it was being exposed here as a property. So we might be able to get away with just declaring it like this and then accepting it as accepting an array of those things. Now, we are this whether or not the XBCOM WebIDL integration is going to accept this, I don't know. We'll see. I hope it does, but it might not. It might not. So let's start by going over to the jump list builder and declaring the WebIDL. We're going to say WebIDL, and what was it under Chrome Utils? It was called Windows Jump List Shortcut Description. And then we want to accept an array. And the way you do that in XBCOM land is you can pass in an array. Smurfy's like, if you have something that looks okay but doesn't work, you can at least push it for feedback, for sure. For sure. Let's see. XPIDL array. 4 years ago, we made it so that you can use array T. So what does that look like then? Inside of Thunderbird, for example, they made it so that you can just like array octa. Okay, cool. That's for like getting an out array. How about passing in an array? Let's see. IDL array. In array float matrix. Okay, so hopefully what I can do then is say like if I've got populate jump list, we're gonna call it something like populate jump list 2. Or do we already have something in here like populate jump list? We don't. Okay, we're gonna add ourselves a new one here and say, hey, implicit JS context. Promise, we don't say what it's going to return, but populate jump list, and it's going to be an array of these things. Is this going to work? I have no idea. I have no idea. In fact, we might not know for a while because all of this building, I changed Chrome utils and it's like having to rebuild the world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, and while we wait for that to build, we're going to redirect our attention to something else. What else is going on? So I'm working on a thing right now. You may have noticed we're going to shift gears. We're shifting gears, gang. Hang in there. Hold. Okay, we're shifting gears. Let me... Here, this is... Is it going to move windows? Good. Okay. You may have noticed that there's a new button available in Nightly. And it is the Unified Extensions button. It looks like a puzzle piece. And this is like part of work in progress. It's not completed yet. There's still a lot to do. It's enabled, though, by default in Nightly, despite the fact that there's much to do. And, you know, the reason that there are a bunch of reasons why we need this thing. Mainly, the primary reason is because with Web Extension Manifest v3, part of the API makes it so that sites, the user has to grant access to individual sites. And we need to make it clear, for example, that, you know, if I go to the CBC, we need to make it clear which ones can access and read data on the site, and then make it possible for the user to like grant or remove access. And we need to list all of the web extensions in here, not just the ones that put things in the toolbar. All of them have to go in here because not every web extension has a toolbar button. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is we need to have this button available in the event that a web extension needs to request those permissions. You know, we're kind of having this be the anchor point for any kind of web extension permission dialog. And that is true even if like the web extension is not in the toolbar because they don't have a browser action. So we need to have this kind of like home, like web extension anchor point for permissions panels for, you know, if I've got a web extension that doesn't add a toolbar button and it needs to request permission to access this site, it has a place to anchor that permission request. We need to do that here. And there's a lot of work left to do on it. And part of, I know some people are like, why can't I remove this thing? Why can't I get rid of it? Well, part of the reason is that we need to have it around so that web extensions can ask you permissions for things. We need an anchor point for that. But we're still working out the rules on when this puzzle piece button appears and when it doesn't. Like if you don't have any web extensions installed, it probably shouldn't appear. And if you've got all of your web extensions, for example, all have toolbar buttons that are in the toolbar. Maybe this doesn't need to be here. Maybe we don't need to see it. It's really only useful for the ones that don't have toolbar buttons. And the other thing that we want to eventually do is what I've been tasked with, which is we want to make it so that whenever things overflow, I don't know if you've ever noticed this before, but when you like resize the window, we have this like overflow panel to put things in. We want like the web extension ones to go into the puzzle piece as opposed to this overflow panel. We want them all to go in here. So like only trusted buttons from like built-ins will go into this overflow, and then web extensions will overflow into the extensions panel. Like that's where they'll live. The question is, I hope this won't limit the functionality of UMatrix. It shouldn't. Like UMatrix is as I understand it, is like a Manifest v2 web extension. This isn't going to affect the functionality of the underlying web extension. It's just more about like where do parts of its UI live in Firefox, and where does it anchor permissions. I believe, for example, that because UMatrix is Manifest v2, it's not going to go through the same sort of like permission request thing that v3 add-ons are going to have to do. I think that's the story. All right, so why do I bring this up? Well, I've been working on that overflow behavior, and one of the things that I needed to do was move the web extensions panel. Sorry, I'm going to fire this up again. This panel is actually taking advantage of the same panel that the app menu uses. So the app menu has a panel, and generally speaking, you can only have one panel open at a time. However, we do have the ability to like disable pop-up auto hide, and then you'll notice. Oh, actually, no. It creates a temporary panel for subviews. So, for example, they're sharing. Let me give you an example. They're sharing. Let me stop that breakpoint. They're sharing this panel, aren't they? Or are they not? They may also just be. Are they both temporary panels that get panel multi-view? Oh, right, because I've got the patch applied. That's why. Let me show you the problem whenever I don't have my patch applied. Sorry if this is all very confusing. One moment. Also, how's the build going? Still building. But it's pretty far along. It's building the G-test, so this is almost done. So we might not be long working on this web extension thing. What did I want to show you? I want to show you these panels at the same time. It's so hard for me to see through these sunglasses. They're very good sunglasses. Maybe I'll just take them off for now. Okay. Oh, it's so bright in here. Okay, my eyes. The goggles, they do everything. If we disable pop-up auto hide and I open up this panel, do they have like some kind of, do we just like end up reusing customization widget panel? What was I trying to demonstrate? Yeah, it ends up creating like two panels at the same time with the same ID, and they're both children of this toolbar. Like it ends up creating these like temporary panels that get destroyed after the panels close, and that's fine for like the library window or the library panel, but for the extensions one, we need it to be long-lived. Like I was saying, like this, as currently implemented, these panel contents get removed from the DOM when the panel goes away. And whenever we have overflowed things, we need them to stick around so they stay in the DOM. So that's what my patch already does. Seems good. It's already in Firefox 108. Yeah, Firefox 108's nightly right now. It's being held to nightly. The puzzle piece button is controlled by this unified extensions pref. Which I believe is only on by default in nightly. So there. And I've done the work of moving the web extensions panel out from like that sort of like reusable one to its own panel. So it's got its own like dedicated panel, and that's great, except that I'm failing a bunch of tests. It wasn't a whole lot of work, but I'm failing tests now, and I wanted to address that. But I just realized that our build over here is done. So now we can shift gears back. We're going to be shifting back and forth while we wait for builds. That's often what I do. It's like, it's okay to context switch if both things are kind of in your head. So somehow, I think it accepted this change to populate jump list, or it hasn't built the XPIDL. So I'm actually going to run mock build again just to see if it picks up the change to the XPIDL file. And see if it accepts it. Yeah, see, it's... Oh, here we go. Here we go. Doesn't know what I'm talking about. Thank you. Right. So I just got a T delivery. Thank you. I think we have to say in array. That this is an in array. Still doesn't like it. Invalid syntax. But it doesn't say why. In array. If I'd given it some non-web IDL stuff, like if I say in array a string, does it feel okay with that? No. No, there's something about the syntax it does not like. How do we do array? In array. Oh, I have to give it a name. In array descriptions. Will it like that? Excellent. I've got an example here from Smurf D. Thank you very much. That's very handy. So it likes that. It's not going to like the fact that the function's missing, but it accepted it. It's going to be like, hey, I'm trying to link here. Where's that function? Hey, yo, I'm linking here. Yeah. Previously declares a struct. And then it's declared as a class. Did you mean to use a struct here? Is there a way I can say like WebIDL struct? Struct inside of IDL. No. That's the web platform. Web platform tests. Ignore those. It might not like the fact that I'm trying to do this thing with a dictionary. But we'll see. So yeah, it's like, hey, where's that function? Cool. Now, instead of passing in a set of A strings, we're going to pass in A descriptions. And let's quickly check to see in the WebIDL parser. Where's the XPIDL parser? XPIDL. Okay, WebIDL interfaces are also valid web XPIDL interfaces. Declare WebIDL interface. Use this. WebIDL types will be passed as such when used in params, when as out and out. No, other WebIDL are not currently supported. Ah! No, that's a problem. That's sad. That kind of puts the kibosh on this a little bit, unless there's a way that I can. Is the way to have the method be declared in WebIDL and we do like partial implementation in XPCOM and the rest in IDL? What does it say? Well, it's complaining about this, and it's like, hey, it's not a class, or it's a class, and it's actually a struct over here, and you're declaring it as a class over here, and that's not good. Now there is a way of declaring, like doing C++ like things in and XPIDL. Struct. Let's see. Cache entries. Why not name the struct one thing and the class another? Because they're both ultimately going to I'm trying to point them at the same thing. Like, what we want is to pass the structure, the struct, through the method, this populate jump list method. And the XPIDL is assuming that what I'm referring to is a class and not a struct. And it is a struct. And it's not happy about that. Maybe I can just do this. Maybe I can just like, how does the WebIDL stuff get, what is it when it parses it? The IDL parser, write WebIDL. What do you do? You say class such and such namespace, and then you just declare class. I could maybe just do this by hand and declare the structure. The namespace is seg is path. If we split up the : the native implementation, can I just do like namespace like Chrome utils? What namespace does it have? Namespace Chrome utils. And the implementation of Chrome utils, what? It's like DOM? Chrome utils is inside of DOM, inside of Mozilla. Mozilla DOM. Okay. So maybe I can do namespace Mozilla namespace DOM struct. We're gonna do a for declaration here. We're gonna call it Windows jump list shortcut description. Can I just do that? And then we're gonna type def type def not quite type def namespace, or yeah, these sorts of things. Successful event you define. I want to see these funky things. Show me these funky things. Let's look at some DOM code. I feel like they do funky stuff. No. DOM stubs. Declare a class like that. And then you say DOM exception. Can we use things like Mozilla DOM inside of IDO? Yeah, you can. Oh, okay. In array, Mozilla DOM. We're going to say you are a structure. We're going to for declare. Let's see if it likes that. How do you like that? Still doesn't like it. Invalid syntax. Oh, I see. We have to like... I see. Okay. You have to tell it about the native type. Pointer native. And then it's that. I think there shouldn't be a space after such and such, says somebody. That's true. It might actually accept it though. This is incredible. It's linking, everybody. We may have done the impossible. It's definitely not going to like the fact that we're missing the function. So we're going to have to define that next. The method rather, but we may have actually done the work of making it possible to pass a dictionary to through XPCOM, which is amazing. I didn't think I'd be doing that today. Yeah, it's like, hey, where's my function? Where's my method? Where's my money? Okay, so we're gonna define our new function. I'm gonna put it right at the bottom, and we're gonna say, what are some of the other things we've implemented here? These are all the, yeah, like commit list build. Where are all the ones that are promisey? Like this. That's the signature. We're just gonna see if we can get called. So what was it called? Populate jump list. And then we take in the array. So that's gonna be, I think, so Smurfd pointed at this example. What you do is you say const nst array. Okay, so I think it'll be like something like this. Const nst array, and then Mozilla, you know what, we can just put like using at the top of this. Using Mozilla DOM. 2 L's. What was the thing called? This thing. And we are going to have to bring that in somehow. I guess that'll be in chromeutils.h. I can't remember. But it'll be declared somewhere. And then we can say, hey, we're pulling in an array of those things. It's a reference to an array. Okay. A descriptions, and then our JS context. And then we have our promise out param. I think that's how it'll work. Let me just refresh my memory and see if the JS context and the promise, those are the two final arguments. So let's see if it's going to accept it. We're going to return NSOK here. And let's build it and see if it likes it. It might not know what I mean by this, and we might need to bring in the jump list shortcut description. Out of line declaration does not match. Type does not match. It expected, a pointer. Yeah, an array of pointers, which I think is what it's going to ultimately be. Hanging in there, gang. I'm gonna try and answer a question before the end of this this stream as well. Someone sent in a question, so I'm gonna do my best to try and answer it. It's about sync. If you have your own questions that you want me to try and answer about like the code or Mozilla or stuff, you can send that question in using the form, the Rate This Episode form at the bottom of the agenda. Right here. This is the question I'm going to try and answer later. You can ask me questions here, or you can drop them in the chat, in the Twitch chat or in the Matrix chat. I'm watching both. And holy smokes, it linked. This is unbelievable. I'm very surprised. Let's see. Let's see if it actually works. How do we even test this? I'm gonna need to get access to a builder, and I'm gonna just try passing some structures and just seeing what it'll do. So let's run. This is a debug build. This is gonna be a little slow, unoptimized. Let's just give me a sec for this to boot up. Basically what I want to see is whether or not I can just pass in just JavaScript structures that match the Windows jump list shortcut description structure that we defined, and then what happens if I pass in something that does not abide by that structure. Because I'm hoping that the WebIDL sort of binding layer prevents it from even hitting the method. Okay, we need ourselves our toolbox or a console. Either will do. Can we get ourselves... Oh boy, come on. There we go. How do we get ourselves a builder? Can't actually remember. We're gonna have to open up the old Windows jump list code. Builder. Create jump list, and that's from the taskbar service. So we're gonna get this service. It's a little klutzy, a little clumsy. Whoop. Get service when taskbar. Is that when taskbar? Let WTB equal that, and then what was it? Create jump list builder. Okay, builder, and I think I can say promise. What is it? Populate jump list. Is that a thing I can call on it? It's undefined because I think I actually have to. Do I have to like query interface that thing? Builder. Builder query interface. Windows jump list. Oh man, keyboard debug build so slow. Windows. What was it? NSI just jump list builder. NSI jump list builder. Okay, builder. Promise. No, not promise. Populate. Populate jump list. That should be... What are you talking about? It's a thing that I have on jump list builder. Do you have set app? Yeah, there's a function there. So how come you don't have populate jump list? Am I spelling it wrong? What in the world? If I like create something like populate jump list 1 and it returns void. This should build, right? And then is it cold there? It's quite cold. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the leaves are falling. Let's. Why is it showing me? This used to show me the weather. Now it's trying to show me like the index of the Toronto Stock Exchange. Cool. Thanks, Windows. What is the weather in Toronto right now? It's cool down here where I am. It's raining right now. That's right. It's raining. 12 degrees Celsius for you Americans. That's 54 degrees. So it's not that cold yet, but it's gonna get cooler. Yeah, weather report time. Okay, boop 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 boop. Weather report time.
It's me, Mario.
Weather report time on Sunday, or Friday. We're looking at a low of 3 degrees Celsius. That adds up to about 49 degrees Fahrenheit. It is, not quite freezing, but we're getting there. Precipitation, we're looking at a relatively, wet week. We've got some precipitation starting today, and then next week, Monday and Tuesday, we've got other kinds of precipitation and clouds. Boop, 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 boop. Thank you for listening to my weather report. Yeah, it's really weird that function wasn't exposed for some reason. I'm kind of like we are in sort of the XP com weeds here, where I've never tried. Like we're kind of in uncharted territory, so it's possible that for some reason the way I've declared this method, it's XPcom's just silently failing and not letting me. Did you switch to Windows from Mac OS? No, I'm running Windows in my on a different machine, and I'm using Microsoft Remote Desktop to view it. Sure Shack says XPcom never made sense to me. The only thing you have one thing to remember is that COM or XPcom was just Mozilla's version of Microsoft COM. So I would start actually just by looking at Microsoft COM, because they're very similar, and then realizing that COM is this technology from the 90s that didn't really pan out. But ultimately what it is all about is doing interface declaration and very verbose dynamic casting. That's what XPcom is. And then everything else is just a hash map. Danny Colin's coming at us with a Montreal weather report. Boop, 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 boop. It's 23 degrees Celsius, 28 with the humidex here in Montreal. Warmer than it should be for this time of year. Ooh, that funny feeling. Okay, so let's run this whole set of instructions again. Let's see if we can do this as a oneer, actually. We're gonna copy that down. I'm gonna paste that here. And then what was the next step? It was create this builder, and then I was like, hey, let's query interface this thing. Okay, so let's run this all in one shot. Oh, so there's populate jump list 1. It's happy with that. It's just super unhappy with populate jump list. Maybe because of what I'm doing here. If I get rid of this argument, if I say in array float, will it be happy? And will it put it back? That's possible. In which case, we might be having to deal with more XPcom strangeness. Maybe I'm emitting stuff, XPcom-y stuff that the JavaScript engine is not prepared to deal with. That's possible. In which case we might be a little bit sunk here. I might have to go talk to some people on the DOM team about this. The other option is to do a partial. It might be possible to do like partial implementations of things using XPCOM. Chrome utils binding.h. There's the binding. And then, like, can I do load URI options binding? Load URI options. That's interesting. What? Load URI options. So doc shells load URI gets passed a load URI options. Wait, what? Let's go back for a sec. Load URI options binding. In load URI, who calls this? Load URI, load from script, and then you NS web browser, and then this is like hand-rolled XPCOM interface stuff. Which implements docshell tree item web navigation web browser NSI web browser. I feel like I'm onto something here. Load URI. And then load URI struct. Yeah, here. Check it out. Someone made it so that you can, and a load URI options is a web IDL. Okay. It's a dictionary. So someone else has done this. Someone else has definitely done this. And then they did ref native options ref. But it was a ref, not a pointer. Okay. So maybe I'm doing the wrong thing here. And then ref. Then you can say an in friendly version, C++ friendly version. The binary name is load URI. And you're saying, okay, you've taken this JS val and then load URI from script. And then we're saying, hey, construct that from this. Otherwise, that's interesting. Maybe that's what I should do. Okay, I have an idea. I have an idea, gang. First of all, let's see if this will work, and if not, that's okay. We're gonna do it slightly differently. We can still use the dictionary. And load URI options. For some reason it's under DOM web IDL load URI options. I don't know why. I mean, it would never be exposed to web content. Should probably be in Chrome web IDL. There's populate jump list. So it did not like the fact that I was passing in this description thing, but that's okay. I've got an idea based on what we just saw. There's prior art of us taking in an array of JS vals. Like, can we? Is that true? In array JS val? Yeah. Promise call in JS val args. Yes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this. We can also get rid of, actually we can get rid of this. We don't even need the whole like reference thing. I'm pretty sure. And instead what we do is we are going to accept JS handle the options. So it's an actually I liked where call listener from extension event listener. It's going to accept an NST array like this. A descriptions. And then we're going to go through them, args. Convert args to a non-const sequence. Args, append elements. Fallible. It does a structured clone. Really what I want to do is I want to iterate our args. I guess I'm basically doing a copy. What am I doing here? I'm going to create a copy of the array to send over to the other thread. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So, yeah, what's the right way of doing that? We're going to create an array of Windows jump list description shortcut description items. So the way that was done over here was you'd init. You'd call init. And init is actually a thing that I think you have to say that your dictionary can do. Load URI options. I think you have to say that you're going to you have to generate the init. So that's one thing we have to update. So we're going to go over here to Chrome utils, say, hey, generate an init for these things. And I'm actually curious. Do we ever, JS actor callbacks, constructed, created. Audio param descriptor. Do we ever like otherwise deal with an array of audio param? Yeah, here we go. NST array, audio param descriptor map. Creating a map, and the map is just an NST array. It's just an NST array. So we're going to create an NST array. We're going to append. So something like NST array Windows jump list shortcut description desks, and then we want to iterate our and then append element fallible basically I want to like iterate this array. And how did like this do it? Did it iterate it? Args. It just created a new sequence. How do I iterate an ST array? I might be able to just do like for auto JS val, like, yeah, JS val argument, is that a record? No, but entries is an ST array. So I can just do for entry for auto JS val auto ampersand JS val of a descriptions. I think we can then do our conversions. What does this do? It's like we're gonna create a load URI, not a load URI options. We're going to create description, and we're going to initialize it using the context and the structure. JS val, and then that will return false, I guess, if things go wrong. If not, that then return ns error invalid arg. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to append that to our desks. Can I say append element fallible? Element, I want to move it. Standard move, yeah, I want to move. Is that gonna work? Let's see if that builds. I'd be very curious if that builds. But if it does, what we've done is we've created an NST array of descriptions that are a copy of the JS values that came in, and we verified that we can convert, like they are of this structure, and then we can safely move them to another thread. I believe that's what we've done. Oh boy, now we're having to because I touched Chrome utils. This is all going to get rebuilt. This might take a few minutes. So let's go back to the panel thing we were talking about with web extensions. So I redid all that. I did all this work to like move the web extensions panel out into its own thing, and I have some test failures. So I wanted to investigate those, and I wrote down all the test failures here. And so let's just go through them one by one. Here's the first test failure. This thing. Let's see if I can reproduce the failure. Keep an eye on this build. What's nice about RDP is that I think this is like an periodically updating thumbnail. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, it is. I'm wrong. So I can't really keep an eye on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to like put this off screen. I'm just going to put it over here so I can keep an eye on it. Okay. And that test failed. And why did it fail? Because it expected to be able to open the extension panel. And it's like, hey, I don't know what that thing is, right? So head unified extensions. This is not super surprising because I moved things around. So let's see what open extensions panel is trying to do. Expected list view. So this is returning, getting view node. Panel get view node of the Win document. It's expecting to be able to find unified extensions view in the document. Oh. I'm gonna reverse these because this is like using the cache lookup thing. So this may or may not actually fix it. Like the first time I open the panel, that item will then become available. Oh, whoops. I see. Let panel equal G unified extensions. Get button. Get panel. Return. Yeah, okay. How are they doing? Some underscorey things. Okay. Panel stop panel. Let's now update. Where was I? Browser add-ons, head unified extensions. So we're gonna get the panel here. That's gonna cause the panel to get created. Okay, panel. And then list view. Does it ever call this anywhere else? A couple places. View. Return. Win dot. this? We don't use the panel anymore. Let's try that. Not liking the looks of that. 1527. Browser add-ons. It's like, hey, busted. Busted. All right, here we go. Let's try again. I think we're almost at time. But I want to just do this, see if this WebIDL stuff is going to work out, and then I'll end the stream. Button is not defined on 34. Almost there, gang. Right, it doesn't know what I'm talking about. Copy paste error. The build is still going, yeah. I'll drag the window over. You can see where it's at. I would like, hey, there we go. Yeah, we're at internationalization. Unfortunately, whenever I touch the Chrome Utils WebIDL file, everything gets rebuilt. That is the problem there. Or like because that creates a header that's used in a bunch of different places. A bunch of things have to get rebuilt. That's the nature of headers, unfortunately. And shared code. Okay, so that passes. Was there another one that was failing? This was for ActiveScript. And then this one, origin controls. It's building the layout engine now. That's fun. So that passed. We may have fixed the issue that was causing all of the tests to fail. Unified extensions. Yeah, all passed. What's next? Accessibility. Passed. What's the next one? Looking for a line that starts with the word browser, because that'll be like the name of the test that runs. Oh, I must have missed it. Context menu. That's what we're in right now. Oh, the build is failing. We can switch back over to my Windows machine. Actually, this is really interesting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run all of the browser components extensions tests. We're going to run them in headless mode, and then we're going to go back to our Windows machine. Okay. So what was going wrong here? It's like, hey, I've never heard of this stuff. No member named Windows jump list shortcut description under Mozilla DOM. You sure? Use of undeclared identifier. Really? All right, let's find the obj debug dist find chrome utils binding.h. It's going to be in here somewhere, I think. Or am I wrong about that? Oh, no, didn't mean to do that. All right, search Fox. Gets placed under where? Mozilla dist include Mozilla DOM. Yeah, there it is. Windows jump list shortcut description. Oh, you know what? It's because I need to import Chrome binding utils in here. Mozilla DOM. Chrome utils binding. No. How are we doing over here? I have a feeling I've confused it by like having another application in the foreground. Even though I'm headless, some of these tests will fail in headless mode. Like you saw the context menus flying around. Like even if I'm headless, it'll try and open up context menus. And if it is having a hard time, like if stuff isn't happening as expected with those context menus, maybe I pull focus. Yeah, it'll fail. See that context menu flashing up? That's even though I'm running headless. Let's wait until it's done each of these context menu tests. Then we'll pull open I'll pull open this guy. All right, now it's complaining about what? No matching function to init. But I told you to generate the init. What? Dist include Mozilla DOM Chrome utils binding.h. It was called Windows jump list shortcut description. There's an init here. With context as the first argument, then a JS value is the second, and then a bunch of like pass to JS impl false. So what are you talking about? And where'd my shell context go? Sure Shack's like, headless shouldn't even have graphics related things. There should be. So headless just means that there's no top level widget, no top level window, and we like fake out a top level window, but it will, our headless mode will still attempt to like open context menus, and those are separate windows. Like from the perspective of Zool and like our or from the perspective of our widgetry code, context menus are like completely separate from the root window. And so our headless mode isn't, oh, hang on a second. It knows that the function exists, but it's having problems with the fact that I'm going from a JS value to a handle. It's expecting a handle, not the JS value. Okay. I see. That's the problem. So I need to somehow get a handle. What does the web extension code do? What is it doing? So this web extension IDL, or what was it? It was like JS val array, JS val in array in extension API request handling, call listener. I want a handle. How do we get a handle? API object descriptor for args. Pass variadic nullable typed array. Let's call back interface. Oh man, where am I? What is a JS handle? And how do I get one? It's been rooted elsewhere to prevent it from being garbage collected. I see. From script. JS file binary implicit. Should it actually be like, can I just do this? Can I say JS handle JS value? Will it like that? No. Doesn't match the declaration. It expected ST. Yeah, no handle. So how do we get a handle? I think it just means like JS rooted. JS value. And then you pass it the value. I think that's how it works. JS rooted JS value, and then you pass it. To object. Unchecked unwrap with. Fortunately, I don't have too many examples of like value, JS value, do I? Oh, here we go. A scripts. So we have these A events, then can we get some rooteds? Sequence, arguments. STRA, A result. Set capacity, we pen the amount, JS rooted, JS value. ACX, we read into it. No, that's for an out param. I want in param. Like this. A events. Console events. No, see, that's an out param again. In param. The fact that there aren't too many examples of this makes me a little bit worried. Get delayed scripts. That's probably another out param. ST array, JS heap, JS value. Args. This is where we were before, right? Yeah, call listener. Serialize. JS value. JS value created JS rooted. Okay. Okay. Maybe we can do that. There's probably a better way. It's probably a better way. But for each of these, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, we're going to say val or JS val, and then we're going to say rooted val, and we're going to say to JS value args. What's args? I don't exactly want to do the whole thing. I just want to do JS val, rooted val, we're going to return as error invalid arg, and then we'll pass in rooted val to that. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be a better way, but this is one thing I'm really bad at is talking to the JavaScript engine. It's like I have very little experience talking to the JavaScript engine and like getting values in and out. It's one of the nice things about like WebIDL is it kind of takes care of a lot of that glue for me. And here it's like, okay, I've been past this thing, this array of JS values. And you know, I gotta do all this work. It's kind of annoying, but it looks like it's gonna build. Um, so that's good. Someone, oh, Smurf D is like, could this give hints? So JS value events, and then see this is unfortunately this is an out param. Like we're writing to this array, and what I'm trying to do is the other way around, where it's like it's an in param where I'm trying to use the items within a events. So I don't know. Smurf D, but it built. So let's run this thing, and then let's try passing it some nonsense and see what happens. And then we're gonna call it. I also want to answer that question real quick. So while we're waiting for this to boot, some questions that came in were, or a question that came in was, hey, I have many preferences in about config that start with services, sync, prefs, sync scene. I know they have to do with syncing prefs, so I don't remember this the scene part. What does the scene mean? Let's see. Let's scene. Sync scene. When do these get introduced? Add and allow list of prefs that will sync even if the default value. Is that? Fortunately, I don't know how to reproduce. On occasion, the setting will uncheck from time to time. I think it occurs in startup. The auto scroll preference is a default value, which is different on Linux than Mac or Windows. However, it doesn't sound like you have a Mac or Windows device connected, so maybe it's something different. Not sync auto scroll across platforms. Yeah, it would be a simple fix, probably worthwhile. Got a bit of a plan here. We already have the sync prefs branch. For prefs listed under that pref branch, we do not sync the value if it is the default value, but instead just sync that the pref has the default value. We do this primarily to handle prefs with different values per channels. If you don't change the value on the channel or change it back to the default for that channel, you probably don't want it to be applied to the other profile with a different default. Different situations. User on Linux adjusts auto scroll from the default. No worries, we sync it. Windows profile sees the new value come in, but true is the default there, so when it syncs prefs back out, it notices the pref is the default value. Linux syncs again, sees the pref should be set to the default, and sets it back to false. Have a new branch, say services sync pref sync scene. If a pref is noticed in that branch, then we subtly change the behavior so that as soon as a non-default value is seen anywhere, we'd flag this as special. We then sync that pref always, even if the pref has the default value. So the behavior would be the same until the user changes that pref on any platform. And once they did, it would forever sync regardless of the default. So that's the explanation. I don't fully understand it myself, but that's the answer. It's new-ish. And that's from 4 months ago. So hopefully that answers your question, whoever wrote that. Okay, so we've got our build here, Firefox. I'm going to open up the toolbox. Here it comes. We're going to paste this junk in. Nope. This junk. I'm going to say builder.promise or populate jump list. I'm going to pass it an array of nothing. Let's see what that does. Empty array is fine. Now let's pass it an array of one empty object. No. How about if I pass it Mike was here? No. Oh no. If I pass it just an object instead of an array, I'm sure that's gonna cause it to freak out, right? Yeah, it doesn't like that. It needs an array, but it's going to accept Mike was here. So like if I pass like path and I give it a number instead of a string, 1. No. Okay, this is a problem. I'm gonna have to dig into that. And well, you know, we're over time already. Why not just go a little further over time? Let's attach our debugger. Let's go more over time. We're going long, gang. Go long. 4984, eh? Go long. That's a football sound that people make when they say go long. Jump list builder, populate jump list. That's what we're going to set a breakpoint on inside of Mozilla widget. Mozilla widget. That. Breakpoint. Do you know what I'm talking about? Point break. That's what they should have called it. Okay. And then I'm going to call with path 1. Okay. Hit our breakpoint. Here we go. Okay. We successfully created a rooted val. And now we're going to create our description. Arguments is nothing, 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 nothing. And path is something called 1. It's the string 1. Okay. Interesting. Of length 1 is some 1. How do I make it so that it's like strict? I'm going to have to figure that out. But in the meantime, we're going to append it. And then desks is of size 1. And it gets past our dictionary. Is any member present true? Is there a way? Maybe there's a way that I like can check, like validate that the arguments are valid. I don't know. Well, we'll look into it. But in the meantime, I'm going to call it there. Hey, thank you so much for watching episode 304 of The Joy of Coding. I hope that was interesting. Let me know what you thought. There's a rate this episode link at the bottom of the agenda. I hope, you know, we got sort of through here. I'm eager. I'm confident that in the next week or so we're gonna have this sorted out. I'm not working on this. If it seems like this is slow progress, it's because I'm not working on this in between the stream, in between the streams. So, you know, you're watching me apply myself at the current pace, and like it's just occurring during the stream. And so considering how many streams we've done this is about, I think we probably put in 6 to 8 hours on this. And so that's about a day's work, just about a day's work. And I would imagine something like this to take a couple of days. So we're getting through it. We're getting through it. But let me know what you thought. Rate this episode. Send me your feedback. I read everything that comes in. Next week, we'll be back with episode 305 in November. And I'll see you then. Have yourselves a great week, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.